Yanni, can you just put up the volume a little bit? Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Hina, and I'm speaking to you from the Master Sha Tao Centre in London. And today we have an extra special show for you, an extra special Facebook Live, because today's theme is compassion. Now, I'm not sure if many of you are familiar with the Buddha of compassion, Guan Yin, as she's known in the Far East, or a lot of Master Sha students now know her as Lingwei Shengshi. In ancient India, she was known as Avalokiteshvara. And personally for me, actually, I never heard of Guan Yin. Before meeting Master Sha and becoming a student of his, I had no idea who Guan Yin was. Actually, I didn't even know there were different Buddhas. I really thought there was just one Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, or in Chinese, Shakyamuni Buddha. So I didn't know there was more than one Buddha. I thought it was just one. And I'm Indian, so growing up in the Indian culture, we have many deities, we have many gods and goddesses, but for some reason, this one name was one that I was just unfamiliar with, except until Master Sha. And then after starting on this journey with Master Sha, which is such a great journey, it is an adventure. To have a teacher, a physical teacher in your life is an absolute blessing. You gain a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom, a lot of really good tools in how to handle everyday life. But having a teacher like Master Sha, life is an adventure. Everything is fast forwarded. You learn a lot quicker. You get more powerful tools to handle everyday life. So having a teacher like Master Sha is just amazing. So until actually coming into the Master Sha Tao Centre in London and then starting studying, no idea for Guan Yin. She's known as the Buddha of compassion. And I have to say, with my upbringing, growing up in the West, even though I was of Indian origin, I grew up in the West, never heard about, Buddha of compassion. I honestly didn't even value compassion as a quality. I was just like, okay, compassion, whatever. I valued more qualities like intelligence or just capability, getting things done. Growing up in the West, I valued more of those qualities, the yang qualities, where it was like, okay, let's get this job done. What do we need? Or how can we fix this? Or even in my service roles, it was like, okay, doing. How can we do this? Accomplish it, and then call it, okay, a success, hopefully, most times. So, no interest in Guan Yin, not at all. Until, forgive me for that, until my first experience. This was 2 years ago, a year and a half ago in Toronto. And it was a visceral experience for me. So something happened, and I don't even know what it was. It was just something happened where my mind was blurry. I was foggy. I was living and I was going through my life, but I knew something wasn't right. Something was off. Basically, something was off. And so I went to a couple of teachers and I told them, I was like, something doesn't feel right. Like I have so much fear, like I don't know where it came from, but it was a really odd experience. And I just knew this wasn't normal. And I remember one student of Master Sha, he was a Guan Yin lineage holder. And he heard me speaking. And he came up to me and he said, I heard from Guan Yin to give you a blessing. And actually, she told me twice to give you a blessing. Would you like a blessing? And at that point, I couldn't sleep throughout the night because there was just a lot of fear that kept me up. And it was a visceral experience. Like my adrenaline wouldn't let me sleep, and it was just nuts. It wasn't a normal thing for me. So at that point, I was like, yes, please, I'll try anything to get rid of this weird it just wasn't a normal feeling. And so I said, yes, please give me a blessing. And he did. And as a Guan Yin lineage holder, to be a lineage holder of this Buddha of compassion is truly one of the most amazing things, which I realized perhaps a little bit too late. So he gave me the blessing. And before the blessing was even over, just tears just started streaming down my face. There was like a huge cloud just taken above, like I was just relieved. A burden, something was taken away, where I could finally breathe again, where I felt more normal. And I have never forgotten that experience. I have never forgotten the power of that pretty much almost physical instant blessing. And, that inspired me immediately. I need to become a Guan Yin lineage holder, because it really was such a visceral experience, one that I would never forget, and one that is not just my experience. Many of us have experienced just immense blessings, and dare I say, even some people have gotten healings by Guan Yin. So it's an amazing, adventurous journey. So today we have an amazing Grandmaster Teacher of Master Sha's organization. She's very connected to Guan Yin, and she will be holding a workshop in a couple of weeks. I'll go into the details of that a little bit later. So it is my absolute pleasure to welcome Hui-Ling.
Thank you so much. And wow, I was so fascinated by your story, Hina. So thank you so much for sharing that. Hello, everyone. I'm so honored to be here sharing some stories. And this is one of my, I wouldn't say favorite topic, because that wouldn't feel very honored. Guan Yin is definitely one of my most favorite, the spiritual mothers and teachers or Buddhas. And I have so many stories I can share. So I just cannot wait to be with all of you in that 2 days of workshops. So thank you for having me here.
Oh, thank you, Hui-Ling, for being here. I know the Master Sha Tao Centre in London, all of us here are super, super excited about this workshop, and we're so happy you could join us today. So thank you so much. I know in San Francisco, it's a little bit earlier in your day, so we thank you so much for being with us. So one of my questions is, I know you heard about my experience, and you mentioned that you had many experiences as well. Can you tell us one of your more heartfelt experience with Guan Yin, and the connection and just the power of this amazing, amazing Buddha?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. As I was actually listening to your stories, what I right away, it's like, wow, open my heart. And because right away I feel Guan Yin's love for you, that even though you feel all of that, that fears and all, like something you cannot describe, even you weren't like going around talking to people about it. But Guan Yin, as a universal spiritual mother of love and compassion, she hears our suffering all the time. So it's like that experience for you was through that person, that Guan Yin Lin holder, that she went to you, and because she heard your sufferings, and she, bless you and uplift you from that sufferings. So, I myself, growing up, I have many of the experience like this, but I didn't really know how big or how powerful, amazing Guan Yin is. And Actually, I can start from the experience my mother had, and I will make it short, but it was fascinating. Really, without going, I wouldn't be here. When my mother was born, she has a heart condition, so the one of the valves in her heart was not complete. So the doctor basically said to my grandparents that, this child probably won't be able to live more than 15, or, the longest probably 18, 19 years, because as she grow older, then if that is not fixed, there's not enough of blood will be able to, go through the heart and spread the whole body. So, lo and behold, when my mother was like 1920s, and she used to be very active. She was like a runner when she was younger, but at that time, starts she feel effect of that heart conditions, and so she was so weak she couldn't walk, and she was actually trained as a Christians, the missionary hospital, a nurse, but people told her, okay, there's really, since you're nothing can help you, there is a very famous Guan Yin temple. It's a very small, but it's very famous because whatever that people ask, that this Guan Yin temple always grant them the wish. So my mother at that time, she was so desperate. So she's just like, okay, she would try anything. She just started her trainings. Like she was a nurse and she was trained to have more, uh, you know, um, um, like further medical experience and training. So it's like her life just started in a totally different direction. So she's like, okay, I would go. And but she was so weak that she actually had to have someone, like actually two people had those, special seats and carry her up to that temple. It's on the little hill. Then she was in the temple, and the nuns and guided her to, do forgiveness practice, and also just, to chant the Da Bei Zhou and pray to Guan Yin to save her. So my mother make a vow at that time, and which is very common, in uh, the Buddhist traditions. And people, if you're asking the Buddha something, you have to show your sincerity. So my mother make a vow that she will chant the Da Bei Zhou for 10 years, and which she did, and actually beyond that. And so by the end, she stayed in that temple for a couple hours, and she honors, the Guan Yin. There's like, I don't know, there's maybe like a statue. So uh, and then she had this tea and everything, and they give her a special tea. So by the end of the day, she was able, her heart was strong enough that she was able to walk down from the hill herself. So again, she was being carried up because she had no strength to the temple, and just stay in that for a couple hours. And she was able to come down by the end of the day. She's supposed to be weaker, but that was, I think, the first miracles our family experienced with Guan Yin. There's no explanations, and my mother throughout her life still has some heart condition, but um, that didn't take her away. My mother is now almost 80 years old, so honestly, without Guan Yin, I would not be here because my mother's life would not be extended. She wouldn't get married and had children. So, because my mother was chanting the Da Bei Zhou regularly, so since I was very young, I had no idea what is this greatest compassion mantra. But my mother would always chant. We have little altars and the Guan Yin painting and statues. So I was just chanting along. I have no idea really what is the power, what it means, and I was just chanting along. And then I also find out that chanting this really helped with exam. So I was not a very diligent student. I feel like, well, life is short. I don't know why. Since I was young, I was always like, we need to have a balance. Study is important, but having fun is also important. But I was always very uh, good with uh, the uh, like my mother always said that you have very good luck with exams. Like I was very good with guessing the right answer. But the truth is, I always ask Guan Yin, because I was just like, oh, Guan Yin is so amazing, it's so nice. And, at that time, when I was young, I didn't really know how to honor, respect Guan Yin. So I was like, Guan Yin, please help me and show me what's the best exam, like the answers. So, throughout my life, I spent a lot of years studies, and I always had a very pretty good performance, and I wouldn't say it was really my own efforts. There was a lot of blessings and help from Guan Yin. So anyway, and uh, really throughout my life, I always ask Guan Yin when I'm feeling fearful, or I study abroad on my own and live abroad on my own for many years. And, you know, I didn't come from a background of speaking English all the time, 24 sevens, like that kind of, we learn like English, like, a couple of days a week and like 1 or 2 hours, each day is basically. So in the beginning, there was really a lot of stress, to just, and it's not just about language, it's about being in a completely different environments. And I also didn't know what I was thinking. I start uh, right away at this all English PhD environments, and so there was a lot to juggles really. And always in my like the lowest point, I always asked Wayne to help me, and it was like every time things just unfold in a way that beyond I imagined or expected. And so, throughout my life, I have always chanted the WHO, but the fast version, the short version. And until I met Master Sha, and which is another fascinating story, like Hina said, it's amazing to have a living master, a true teachers be with us and to learn from that true teachers. So, through meeting Master Shas, and I start to build a very different relationship with Guan Yin. And first starting from learning the WHO. And this version Master Sha taught us is a slower versions. Uh, and in the beginning I was like, it shouldn't be too hard for me because I had chanted the short versions for years. Probably at that time already more than 10 years. But it was very interesting that, and actually my first volunteer job when I connect with the Master Sha's mission was actually I was assisting the filmmaker at that time, uh, editing the WHO workshop Master Sha did in Netherlands. And when Master Sha asked me, would you, be willing to do this? And I was like, of course, I love Guan Yin, I love the WHO. What an honor for me to do the editing for this course. And I was just so excited. So, uh, as everybody started learning and memorizing this new versions, this new melody that Guan Yin gave to Master Sha's, people started memorizing it and they were chanting, and I was like, I can do it. But for very interesting reasons, but I'm very grateful because I needed the teaching. So for about 8 months, people always said to me, oh, you must know this already because you edited. You're so lucky. You edited it, so you must already know, and you must already be a Guan Yin Lin holder. And I was like, actually, no, I have not passed my exam because in my heart, um, I, I, I could chant together with people in a group, but when I'm chanting on my own with a new melody, I don't know what happened at that time. It's like I just could not memorize it. I will have my own versions. Like, the line will start to flying all over. It wasn't the same version as Master Sha taught us. And I was just so frustrated. And meanwhile, I also feel like, as Guan Yin, I'm not going to cheat on Guan Yin until I can memorize on my own. Like if I am doing the exam on my own, not chanting with a group, that until I can memorize this all 88 lines, exact the way in the CD, that versions, I would not go up to have my exam. So months has passed, months has passed, it's like 10 months passed. Everybody starting at the same group, many people have become Guan Yin Lin children, except me. So, at one point I was growing so frustrated. And I remember one time at one of the retreats, because I used to travel with Master Sha as the traveling uh, film and video editors with the media team. It was absolutely amazing. And as more people are passing and receive their Guan Yin Lin shoulder transmissions, I was just like, I don't know what's wrong with me. So, I remember that it was in the retreats we're setting up, and I just, I because I was so frustrated, I just was bowing down and you know, um, and I asked Guan, I said, could you just please tell me what do I need to know? What do I need to transform? I said, I have channeled the short versions, the fast version, not short version, the fast version for years. Why can I not learn this version? What is wrong with me? I don't know what happened. And I just like go on and on, and I was like crying. And luckily, that was very late night. So it was during there was only like a few volunteers we were setting up for the webcast retreat. And then suddenly, in my visions, I saw beloved Guan Yin appear to me. And, she just looked at me with such love and kindness and compassion. And she said to me, listen to what you had just said to me. Are those words for compassions? It was all about what's wrong with me, what's wrong, what do I need to transform, what's the problem. So she said to me, how do you be my representative of the greatest compassions when you do not have self-compassion for yourself? And that was like a hit in my head. It was like, wow, that is exactly what I need to learn. That how do I embody that greatest compassion if I have no compassion for myself? And uh, so I right away, I apologize to Guan Ying's and I thank her. And then I continue, and then the vision ended, but then I continued to do the forgiveness practice. And so I apologize, to myself for all of those very critical words, like the judgments. And, we are often so critical with ourselves, how we need to get things done, and, all of that, or be done in a certain way, um, and then we're not actually leaving room, allow ourselves to simply be. So as I was doing the forgiveness practice, and then the next day I start with learning the Dabi again, and within very short times, I don't even remember, maybe like 2 weeks, it's like everything just flow, and because that was a piece that Guan Yin wanted me to learn, and it took me a very long time, it's almost 10 months. Like finally, I didn't figure out that it was out of Guan Yin's compassion that she then finally is like, "Ah, poor child." At least she asked for help, so let me just help her. So after that, it's like I just now remember all of this. Now I'm following Master Sha's version. I did not have my own Hui-Ling's versions. But now, a couple of months ago, when Master Sha started asking us to go back to the fast versions, like, very interesting. I guess there's a high level of self-compassion that I need to, and other things that I need to learn. So I suddenly, it's like, for about 2 months, I could not memorize the fast versions. Then I'm like, wow, I've chanted this for like at least 15 years. How could I not remember this? So it's very interesting. Spiritual journeys is like full of surprise, but I also learned that we are really supported. Not only we have a life, living true master with us. We're so blessed, with Master Sha. But through Master Sha, we can deepen our connections with the higher spirits like Buddhas or angels. That whatever that the challenge we have, there is always a way. There is always um, options or uh, blessings we can receive or support, whatever that divine support that come to our way, and we just had to open our heart to receive it. Like Hina, your story that you say yes to that person's offering for that blessings. So and you and I both, as a result, we are one of very few, um, like one of the many people that have experienced this incredible blessings and love and compassion from Guan Yin, because we open our heart and we say yes, please guide me, please bless me. So that's those stories that I want to share today. There are so many more that I can share during the 2 days workshop, but this I feel is very relevant. I think many of us can resonate, maybe not learning the mantras, but other things in our life that we might not have enough of compassion for ourselves. Sometimes it's easy to be compassionate for others, but also, I have learned through Master Sha teaching and through Master Sha's blessing and support to all of us, through the Da Bei Zhou's retreats and the Heartstone retreats, that, and of course, through becoming a Guan Yin lineage holder, that my connection with Guan Yin Ling Hui Sheng Shi has deepened and evolved in the way that I can never imagine. Also, my understanding of what is compassion is also very different now. It's much broader, and uh, it's also more inclusive. And so I'm just fascinated. Even now, um, it's been a couple years already that I think I become a Guan Yin lineage holder. I think in 2012. I'm still learning about the powers and the amazing uh, impact that as a Guan Yin lineage holder, or um, about the greatest compassion is that for me and for through me, how I can share with others. Yeah, thank you.
I love everything that you said, everything, all your experiences, your stories. It is just so amazing. And it's true. I didn't even realize how strong the quality of compassion really is until I had my experience and my own realization that, oh my gosh, there is so much strength in this yin, this soft quality. And I have to say, like, my journey, just amazing things have happened. And again, I was one of those who never heard of Guan Yin before. I didn't even know there were different Buddhas before. And it's funny because after meeting Master Sha, I realized that there was a there was a temple, there was a Buddhist temple, the Nirvana Healing Temple, in the Caribbean where I used to live. And for years, I used to go there for yoga on Sundays. And only after meeting Master Sha did I realize, or did I learn, that the statue they had outside, it was a statue of a Buddha overlooking the ocean, because I lived on an island and this was on a hill, overlooking the ocean on a dragon holding a vase. No idea. All those years, that was a statue of Guan Yin. And inside the temple was a statue of Amitofo. And I just thought, oh, they're just the same Buddha, different depictions of Siddhartha Gautama or Shakyamuni Buddha. So, Hui-Ling, what do you say to people who perhaps didn't grow up with the exposure to the different Buddhas, to Guan Yin, to the different, as a Far Eastern person growing up in the Far East, what do you have to say to them, and why should they consider this workshop?
Mhm. Yes. Thank you for sharing that stories. Also, it's like the connections you have with Guan Yin has always been there. You didn't realize that. It's like she had been watching over you for years, even though you only go there on Sunday for the yoga. In fact, she's is watching over everyone's there, including the oceans. And uh, even though you didn't know who she is, she helped you. So that's exactly why we need to connect with her, because the more we connect with her, the more we align with her. And it's not just also that we get more blessing ourselves, it's to for us to be inspired to serve, to offer love and compassions like Guan Yin. You know, Guan Yin, in your example is, or like my mother's example, you both did not know who Guan Yin is, but Guan Yin bless you unconditionally. Anyway, it's not like, oh, if you know me, I bless you more. You don't know me, wait until a later. And, it's basically, Guan Yin is the universal's mother's or spiritual teacher of love, compassion. She's known as her quality for compassion, but that's just one aspect of Guan Yin. In fact, Master Sha shared with us that Guan Yin, uh, her greatest virtues is her greatest service. For some of you who might not know her, that she is a compassion Buddha who, have many different manifestations in different, Buddhist tradition. I myself, I'm not a really like those like wow, really devoted to Buddhist followers. I grew up in Taiwan. It's more like a way of life. Uh, like I would say, Buddhism is more like philosophy of life. So I learned about those things a little bit on the surface. I didn't really read the sutras or know any of this. Just like, okay, Guan Yin is the compassions, and she's like our mothers, would bless us, take care of us. And I didn't know a lot. Of course, now from my own experience, because I learned more about Guan Yin, I learned more about uh, how she served. It inspired me. She is well known. As with the thousand hands and thousands eyes. With the eyes is to see and also to hear. Guan means to see and to hear. She sees and to hear the suffering of sentient beings, and then through her thousand hands, he and I were talking about the actions, right? In fact, yes, she has a very beautiful impression, but Guan is also a very powerful action. Her hand is to serve as an actions. So through that thousand eyes and thousand hands, that she sees and hears what our soul, what our hearts is calling for help, and she come to liberate us, to bless us. And in fact, she had made a vow that she said, until all sentient beings reach the highest enlightenment, that I would not attain the Buddhahood, even though she has already um, reached that Buddhahood. In fact, Guan Yin is the ancient Buddhas, and it's her humilities and her love to stay, in this realm, to help us, to save us, to liberate us. And it's not just for if you go to those Guan Yin temple, there's so many Guan Yin temples around the world. You can ask for health, you can ask for blessing marriage, finding true love, have healthy baby, pregnancies, or careers, or long life, or finding a good home. Anything you can ask. Or some people just want to reach a higher levels of spiritual growth, and everything you can ask. And the reason why she's so well loved, because most people, I would say, I can say all, but most people whatever they asked, even whatever they did not ask, the Guan granted their wish. And so this is why her love is like, she's like this mother. She would just do whatever it takes to bless us, to protect us. But through learning from Master Sha's, I'm learning more about another aspect of Guan Yin is that wisdoms, that higher level of spiritual wisdoms, or the wisdom of the soul. As you had shared that in this era, she has a new name. It's called Ling Hui Sheng Shi, which means she is humbly call herself as, this is actually a name given to her, but the way how we, Master Sha translated is really embody the humilities of Guan Yin. She is the saint's servant who carry one of the highest soul intelligence, soul wisdoms. Why is this important? Some of you, maybe you're familiar with, and again, this is not just Buddhist teachings. We all have some sense of when we are being ignorant, or when we don't know some things, then we cannot really transform, or we may make a decision that is not based on a fuller perspective. I believe, if we are well informed, we will be able to make more educated decisions. And this is not just about knowledge. Um, this is about wisdom. I like a Master Sha share was wisdom is eternal. Knowledge is temporary. Knowledge can change and evolve, but wisdom is universal and eternal. And so when we learn more about spiritual wisdoms, we start to relate everyone's in our life, and including ourselves, differently. We start to transform or be more aware of our speech, our thoughts, our action. How is it going to impact others? How is this compassionate to ourselves, to others, and how is this going to help people to uh, relieve their sufferings? So, when we learn more about the wisdoms, it helps us. It's almost like a prevention, prevent us from say the things we know we shouldn't say, or do the things that we know could be harmful, or um, or even start to transform our thoughts, start to have more loving, compassionate thought. Um, it, from my understanding, very limited understanding, there is, the love and compassion, of course, are connected, but they're also a little bit different. Uh, Compassion has that connection with wisdoms, uh, and also with actions. It's like service in actions. And this is why, Master Sha shared with us that the sacred wisdom in that four sacred phrases, which we'll also learn that we can, compassion, in fact, can boost and increase our willpower. And this willpower is for us to serve in a greater way. And some of you might be thinking, well, I'm not interested in serving. uh, in fact, actually, it might be how you perceive what is serving. I think Master Sha gave us some very simple way to understand what is the service. And the service is the purpose of our life. And the service is simply make people happier and healthier. Or now we bring Guan Yin's teaching is also make people wiser. So we are making wiser decisions in our life. And all of this, that everybody's want to serve. I really believe this, but of course everybody serve in a different way. And whether sometimes a small way or big way, it doesn't matter. If you come from that compassionate heart, uh, then this is in Buddhism they call it bodhicitta. It's this compassionate heart that is no distinguishing, that you see the suffering, and even if it's a stranger, you don't know them, even it's a like let's just talk about like environmental issue that people love natures, and even though this is not like your oceans or your mountain, but you still want to do kind things, you still want to do things that can protect the environment. So all of this are actually, many of you are doing compassionate act in your daily life that you may not be aware of. Through this 2 days workshop, we're going to learn ways how we can connect with Guan Yin deeper through this very powerful mantra, which is we call it Da Bei Zhou, and literally translate as the greatest compassion. And there are 88 lines of this. It's a manifestations of 87 the Da Bei Zhou Buddhas or Bodhisattva or heaven generals and other saints. Uh, in the Buddhist traditions, of course, we are not really learning about Buddhists. What Master Sha shared with us is this universal spiritual wisdoms. But it is important for us to learn a little bit of the background. But I want to emphasize we are not Buddhists. We're not learning the limited in Buddhist teaching. You know, every religions have a great things and it's just like it expressed in a different way. So through learning the Da Bei Zhou, we can deepen our connection with Guan Yin. And in the Buddhist traditions, there are so many benefits. Uh, how are you going to transit in this physical world? How you were born, reborn in this physical world, and what kind of protections and benefit you can have in your life. This is, of course, all additional. But for me, most importantly, is learning the Da Bei Zhou really deepen our connection with Guan Yin Lin Hui Shong Shi. And we're also going to learn more about her. And we will do practice, we will chant mantras, we will meditate, and uh, basically we will connect not just with her, but also with one another. Because the more compassions we can experience from her, the more we start to like, um, what I'm hearing now is like, we all have like that Guan Yin in us. We all have the capacity to offer that greatest compassions. So this is prepare us to become a Guan Yin Lynch holder. And the Guan Yin Lynch holder is, and we'll share more later, definitely. It's basically, we are the chosen ones that, you had to pass the exams and, all of this, do not worry. It's actually very simple. And once you make decision that you say, I want to learn the Da Bei Zhou, I want to become a Guan Yin Lynch holder, you will have tremendous help from the centers, from the Tao academies, and also from Guan Yin. And so it's basically we're going to just enjoy this 2 days, have fun, and feel a deeper connections, and also to explore and discover that compassion within us and also from others. I could just feel this is going to be a very transformative and very heart openings and extremely soul inspiring 2 days that we're going to share together, because I know we're going to receive lots of blessings from beloved Guan Yin Lin Hui Shang Shi. So thank you. You can see I'm very excited about this.
Well, thank you so much, Ling Hui. I know Wei Ling. So thank you so much, because I myself am also very, very excited. As you said earlier, it doesn't matter if you're a Buddhist or Hindu or whatever religion you are, whatever spiritual teacher that you follow. One universal thing about all of these paths is the importance and emphasis of service. And that is one thing that Master Sha also truly emphasizes. We're not a religion. The important thing is the service. And Guan Yin is one of the epitomes of true unconditional universal service. So thank you so much, Wei Ling. And as Wei Ling also mentioned, which I thought was just very, very beautiful, was that even though we haven't perhaps heard of, in this lifetime anyway, we haven't heard of Guan Yin or Avalokiteshvara, that doesn't mean they don't know us. And that doesn't mean they're not helping us, watching us, guarding us, protecting us. So they're there. So even though perhaps if you're watching, just like I, never heard of Guan Yin before, I got to know her. And now you have an opportunity of knowing this Buddha of compassion. So please join us. The workshop that the Master Sha Tao Centre will be having with Hui-Ling is July 24th and 25th. Johannes will put up the link in the chat. Please find out more. Hui-Ling, this was such an amazing, amazing conversation with you. I truly appreciate the time that you took to tell us your experiences, your stories, the backgrounds, inspiring us all. And one thing I can say for a relatively new Guan Yin lineage holder is that learning the Da Bei Jiu is an adventure. It was very interesting for me, especially during the first 3 months of lockdown. But what I can say is for the Dao Hands practitioners who are interested in learning the Da Bei Jiu, there is a lot of resources. There's a lot of support that I can say that that now we've had more and more and more Guan Yin lineage holders because of all these resources. So wherever you're at, you've never heard Guan Yin, but you want to learn more, please join the workshop. If you have to be a Dao Hands healing practitioner, but again, there's a workshop this weekend, the global workshop. So join that, and then you can come spend your time with us on the 24th and 25th. Please do that. It doesn't matter if you've heard of Guan Yin and you want to know more, or if you're learning the Da Bei Jiu. There's something that you will learn no matter what level you're at. And at the end of the day, it is all about service. Labels are just labels. Knowing Guan Yin, learning about compassion, the strength, the power, enables all of us to serve in a better, more effective way. So please join us July 24th and 25th at the Master Sha Tao Centre in London. I thank you all for watching. Thank you so much, Hui-Ling, for taking the time to speak to us. And I will see all of you very, very soon. Goodbye.